This is Woodbridge Airfield, an American Air Force base in eastern England. Woodbridge and Bentwaters Field, located some 6 miles away, form a twin-base complex that is the home of the Air Force's 81st Tactical Fighter Wing, armed with some 150 A-10 tank buster aircraft. 4 years ago, however, Woodbridge Field was the site of something that witnesses say seemed to be taken from science fiction.
Mysterious sightings in Rendlesham Forest.
My name is James Shaw, and I first heard about the Rendlesham Forest incident a few years ago.
Our government has purposely and systematically suppressed information about alien spacecraft.
I've contacted Nick Pope, the former head of the British government's UFO project, to find out what happened. What exactly was the British government's UFO project?
The mission essentially was to research and investigate the UFO phenomenon and judge whether any of the sightings contained anything of any defense significance. The Rendlesham incident was December 1980. I describe this as almost like a perfect storm of a UFO case. We really had multiple factors that made this noteworthy. Firstly, the fact that it was over 3 nights. Secondly, there was some radar evidence. This was briefly tracked on military and civil radar, actually. And thirdly, there was physical trace evidence in terms of radioactivity levels. Unlike most sightings, this was not lights in the sky. The central claim was that on the first night something landed, and the security police at RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge, 2 United States Air Force bases, thought that initially an aircraft had crashed, and they went out into the forest to investigate these strange lights, and they saw not a crashed aircraft but a landed craft of some sort, about 9 feet across, 6 foot tall, roughly triangular in shape, and with strange markings on the side that one of the witnesses likened almost to Egyptian hieroglyphs. And this had come down in a small clearing in Rendlesham Forest, which lies between the twin bases of Bentwaters and Woodbridge. It was there for a while. They investigated, took some photos, which they said subsequently they were told didn't come out, made some sketches, and after a while this object took off vertically, cleared the tops of the trees, and accelerated away at high speed. There were more sightings on the second night, and then on the third night there was a social function at the base, and one of the young officers went up to the deputy base commander and said, "It's back." And the deputy base commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt, said, "What are you talking about? What's back?" And he was told that the UFO had returned. So Colonel Holt took a small party of men out into the forest, in his own words, to debunk this UFO nonsense. He wasn't able to debunk it, though, because he ended up being a witness himself, and he saw the UFO not landed this time, but in the sky, performing extraordinary speeds and manoeuvres.
I read somewhere that Margaret Thatcher was told about the Rendlesham Forest incident. Is that right?
Yes, this is correct. A friend of mine, the late investigative journalist Georgina Bruni, asked her about the UFO phenomenon in general, and specifically the Rendlesham Forest incident, and Margaret Thatcher replied, "You must have your facts right, and you can't tell the people." Her remark, "you can't tell the people," has generated a lot of discussions. Believers think that it implies that Margaret Thatcher was aware of some deeper, perhaps more sinister truth about the UFO phenomenon and Rendlesham.
I wanted to find out more about Colonel Charles Holt, so I decided to visit his good friend David Young, who presents a radio show called Paranormal Dimensions and lives just a few minutes away from the forest. His number plate is UFO. His number plate is UFO. So talk us through what you've got on the wall here then.
That's the Holt memorandum. It basically explains about what happened on that first night.
So this was written by Colonel Charles Holt,
Colonel Holt, yeah.
the Deputy Base Commander. That was RAF Bentwaters.
Yep.
Okay. And the other day when I spoke to you on the phone, you said that you'd get in contact with Charles Holt.
Yeah.
You've got the reply on an email. We haven't seen this yet. We wanted to keep this fresh.
I'll tell you what I said to him, and then I'll tell you what he said to me.
Okay.
I said, "Hi Chuck, I hope you're well. Would you be interested in a Skype interview with this fellow? Because you sent me your message." He said, "David, sounds interesting. Have you checked him out? If he's going to stick to the truth, I'm willing to cooperate." Ah, right. He said, "Okay, I can give you his email address."
Perfect.
He's answered that straight away now.
Perfect. That was literally just now that arrived.
Yeah, that's just arrived. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, that's all right.
David then played me Colonel Charles Holt's tape recording from the night that he witnessed the lights.
What is it? We don't know, sir. So can I get some of it? Yeah, it's a strange, small red light. Looks to be maybe a quarter to half mile, maybe further out. The light is gone now. It was approximately 120 degrees from the site. Is it back again? Yes, sir. See if you can get the star scope on it. The light's still there, and all the barnyard animals have gotten quiet now. Yeah, we're heading about 110 to 120 degrees from the site out through to the clearing now. Still getting a reading on the meter. About 2 clicks. Maybe 3 to 4 clicks, getting stronger. Now it's coming up. Hold on, there we go. It's about approximately 4 foot off the ground. Comes to set of 110 degrees. Now it's dying. No, it's not. I think it's something other than the ground. I think it's something very large. It's a tree right over. We just spoke to the first nightbird we've seen. We're about 150 or 200 yards from the site. Everything else is just deathly calm. There is no doubt about it. There's some type of strange flashing red light ahead. It's yellow. I saw a yellow tinge in it too. Weird. It appears to be maybe moving a little bit this way. Yes, it's brighter than it has been. Yellow. It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way. Pieces of it are shooting off. There is no doubt about it. This is weird. To the left. Yeah, definitely moving left. Two lights. One light to the front, one light to the left. Keep the flashlights off. Okay, we're looking at the thing. We're probably about 200 to 300 yards away. It looks like an eye winking at you. It's still moving from side to side. And when you put the star scope on it, it sort of has a hollow center, a dark center. It's like the pupil of an eye looking at you and winking. And the flash is so bright to the star scope that it almost burns your eye.
The next day, I drove to the former RAF Bentwaters, where Charles Holt was once stationed and where the lights were first spotted. We did some research about whether the base is still active, and we found out that it's actually now a business park. Hello, we're here to do some filming. Welcome to RAF Bentwaters. How cool is that? And we're walking up to the old control tower. Being able to stand on this control tower, it allows us to see the actual entire base, which is quite difficult to see from down there on the car park. This might be stuff from when this actually was a US Air Force base. Look, can you see on that bit of paper? USAF. So Rendlesham Forest is over there. So imagine how far that would have been for them to be able to see lights from this base all the way over there. Security are leading us to the bomb stores here on RAF Bentwaters. The bomb stores apparently is one of the buildings that would have been one of the most important buildings back in the day when Colonel Holt would have been here on the base, when the Rendlesham Forest incident would have happened. Look at this! We've got these shelters all around and we've got free reign of the place. This is where they would have been when they first saw those unexplained lights in 1980. This bit's unlocked. Look, it's literally, it is old. Look, this can't be used. It's got paint peeling and everything. It's just a load of empty rooms, isn't it? This is 100% abandoned though. It's the first abandoned place I've ever been in that I've had full permission to go in. I made the journey from RAF Bentwaters to Rendlesham Forest, wondering whether I was following in the footsteps of the military. When I arrived, I found the start of the UFO trail. In December 1980, several sightings of a UFO were reported in Rendlesham Forest. Many think these mysterious events are the most significant UFO incident to have occurred in the UK. Pick up a copy of the trail leaflet, follow the trail, read the story and work out what you think happened. That's exactly what we're going to do now, starting down there. So let's go. Just being here right now, we've been looking into the trees and saying how creepy it looks. You can imagine something like this happening here. And we've said that throughout the couple of days that we've been here. The fact that the area is weird and creepy and isolated. And you can kind of imagine something like a UFO landing happening. This must be the East Gate, because this is the airfield over here. So I think I'm right in saying that the East Gate was where on the first night of the UFO sightings, two airmen came into the forest, and one of the three that got permission to come out stayed at the gate. The reason being that the communications, the radio communications between the base and the guys in the forest cut out. So they had to have one guy on the gate basically relaying the messages. What do those signs say? Warning, troops training. Is this actually something for the military base? Yeah, look at it, look at it. Oh my God, look at it. Look at it. We thought we'd gone off track. We had no clue where we were in terms of the UFO trail. But this is the landing site. So this is the UFO. These must be the symbols that they saw on the UFO that night. And I think this has all come from the description of the military personnel who saw it that night. And what's funny is that it's not really your average UFO shape. It's not like a cartoon shape. It's not like what you would expect if it was some kind of hoax that a UFO would be. I wanted to meet someone who not only saw a UFO, but believes that they were abducted. I found a woman called Roz, who believed this happened to her 2 years after the Rendlesham Forest incident in 1982. I have no clue what to expect other than potentially a very, very weird interview. Is it this? Big white farmhouse, this could be it. Yeah, this is it. This doesn't put me on edge. It says, police, read this, then f*** off. Hi Roz, you okay?
Somebody's blocking the drive.
No, it's me. We're following you, are we?
Yeah. I found out about the Rendlesham Forest incident when somebody actually brought me along to do a UFO story at Rendlesham Forest and then tried to say that I was part of it. And yes, I've been to Rendlesham and yes, things have happened in Rendlesham to me.
What happened in Rendlesham?
I don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about that?
No.
But it was bad.
It was bad.
So the reason that we've come here today is because, as far as I'm aware, you were abducted by aliens.
Yes, I was. It wasn't late at night, it was about 7 o'clock. I was with my boyfriend. We basically decided to go and visit his family. So we're driving along and then the car just died. The lights all went flicker off, everything went dead. Next thing I know is I'm being pushed and pulled across this field by those little, about 3 foot beings, huge big eyes, long, about 3 fingers, and about, yeah, like that, long fingers, and they're sort of like guiding me. I remember being led onto the ship. I took samples, I got poked and prodded in strange places, and I've got scars to prove it. Then they basically told me about themselves and what their problems are. They can't live on this planet, but they can breed with us. And through us, their children will then survive, which means they will survive. And their children, the indigo children, will then have an understanding and an empathy towards this planet, so it won't go the way that it did on theirs. The next thing I know is I was back in the car, and Philip was back in the car, and the engine started up. So we drove off. It followed us for a little bit further, and then suddenly it just shot straight up, and that's the last thing I said. And when I say shot, it went bump. I felt sort of soreness here, and I felt soreness here. Now all here, all the hair fell out, and I ended up with a big scar. This all bubbled up. Philip, meanwhile, he completely lost it. He was stealing, breaking into places. He ended up in prison, attacked somebody. As far as I know, he's still in prison today. By January, we were split. It was over.
And how long had you been together before what happened?
Years. They showed me the future, a lot of future, and a lot of it I forgot, but a lot of it I remembered, and a lot of what I remembered I wrote down. And I've got a tick box. And as I go through life, I can tick those boxes. There's nothing I can do. I can phone up Japan tomorrow and say, you've got a nuclear power plant going to blow up. Nobody will listen to me. I can phone up America and say, there's 2 planes going to hit the World Trade Center. Nobody would listen to me. I've seen that. I knew that a long time before that was happening. And I know a lot more that's coming up. Nobody would listen to me. Now, to put it in a way that maybe people can relate to, you walk down the street, somebody rapes you. You go to the police station, you get taken in, you give your thing, you go through it all, they find the rapist and it goes to court. Meanwhile, everybody's got all this sympathy. Oh, they're, you know, ever so sorry. Excuse me, I was raped by a fucking alien. Where's the sympathy?
A couple of days later, I received an email from Charles Holt saying that he was available that day to speak to me via video call. This is really exciting. We've seen everything, we've been to Rendlesham. Finally, we're going to be speaking to the person who saw the lights on the 3rd night in the forest. So the thing that I'd like to ask you is, what was it like when you went into the forest on that night in December 1980?
Well, first of all, I didn't believe anything really happened that couldn't be explained. Then we saw the glowing objects, and I couldn't find a rational explanation for it. You know, ball lightning, air inversion, reflection, everything was going through my mind, but this thing just obviously was under intelligent control. I had no other interest whatsoever in UFOs or whatever prior to the incident, never even really gave it a second thought, didn't believe it till I was involved, I guess is the best way, and I did everything I could to keep it from becoming public.
Really? So originally you didn't want it to get out at all?
No, it's not career enhancing, and I knew there'd be a great deal of ridicule. I've been accused of everything from witnessing the second coming of Christ to being in cahoots with the devil.
And what do you believe that you saw on that night?
I believe it was something that we can't explain, probably from somewhere else or another dimension. Now, keep in mind, there were multiple people saw this from different locations. Our security police saw it from the weapons storage area. The air traffic controller saw it. British radar actually picked up something going into the forest. Several of the people in the weapons storage area claimed that they actually saw the equivalent of a mothership.
And that weapons storage area that you just mentioned then, we were in RAF Bentwaters the other day, and we went to an area that was the bomb stores. And that's where you say that they saw a potentially some kind of mothership.
Well, above the objects I saw.
And you didn't see this mothership or anything like that?
I didn't see that, unfortunately. I wish I'd seen it so I could say personally, but I didn't see it.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us, Charles. It's been really, really great to speak to you.
Well, you're quite welcome.
Have a good rest of your day.
All right, you have good luck with your program.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, goodbye.
Wow.